What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Dipo's Den. I am your host, as always, Evan DiPasquale. Super excited to have the third episode out of Dipo's Den. It's been a little bit. Promise, we might have Katie Villarini on soon. First off, shout out to her, happy birthday. I know that she told me that her birthday was always on the same day as Kyrie Irving. So I remember that. So, you know, shout out to her. Hopefully we can get her on sometime in the next couple days. Just wanted to that out there. But we're here to talk about the first edition. Like, free agency has now opened in the NFL, and boy, it's booming. I will tell you, I've been so excited with some of these moves that were made by the Bills, made by other teams. It's just been great. And that's where we're gonna really start off with. Is we're gonna start off with the Buffalo Bills, and just we're gonna go. How we're gonna work this out is we're gonna go from talking about the ones that started off early and like the ones that are like not as important, if that makes sense. Like, we're not gonna get into the big time players just yet. We will, obviously. I think that that's really just super important, and we'll easily get into that. All right, but my first thing I want to talk about is Sam Martin. It was like one of the first moves that they made, like the day before free agency. Sam Martin the became the punter for the Bills last season after Matt Araiza was he couldn't. I mean, we all know what happened. Is he got charged with stuff that was not okay, and it it showed. And then they picked up Sam Martin on a pretty good deal, and you know I got no problem with it. It was a 1 year deal that they needed because obviously you need a punter, and then he ended up doing good. I think the whole thing that came down to it was that it was all about who is going to be a good holder. And I think that that's what was the most important thing for this, was who was going to be the one that can give Tyler Bass the best ball possible. And we saw that he had another career year with Tyler Bass. He's going to get re-signed easily. I'm telling you. Like, I have no doubt in my mind that Tyler Bass will end up being the kicker for the Bills for a very long time, because he is that good. But if there were some of my friends said we should bring back Matt Araiza, there was no way that was going to happen. I get it, yeah, punt god, woo, stuff like that, but it would have been so bad for PR to try and explain why they brought him back. So, I mean, there are some people that like him, some people that don't. I'm not going to really get into that, but I just think that it would not have been a good move for the Bills if they decided to bring back Matt Araiza. But it's a 3 year deal worth $7.5 million. It's cheap. I mean, you obviously need a punter. What else are you going to do? So that's really how I look at it, is you needed a punter, and there's not that many good ones, and you got one last year that was really, really good. So and you got to keep him long term. All right. Now, they had Tyler Matakavage signed on a 2 year deal, could be voided after 1 year. Yeah, it's fine. I think that he's mainly a special teams guy. I see him playing on the defense. That's where I look at it from that standpoint, is he's just going to be mainly special teams, and that's basically where we're looking at it with the Bills, is he's going to be a special teams linebacker, and that's all it's going to be. Terrell Dotson, he signed a 1 year deal with the Bills. I think that this is going to be a move where you're going to be like, okay, let's see what he can do. basically. I think that this is a let's see what he can do. Is because when you hear what Brandon Bean has said in his press conference after listening into what after like listening to what was being said for his press conference, I think that he wants some competition at linebacker. And I think he's going to get it. I think that he is going to prove that he wants to basically just show up and see what's there. And it could be, it could definitely be Terrell Dotson. It could be a draft pick, or it could be Terrell Bernard as the next middle linebacker for the Bills. Because obviously, we'll get into the reason why Tremaine Edmonds, you know, is not going to be the middle linebacker for the Bills. I mean, we obviously know because he ended up signing a deal with Chicago, and I'll get into that. I'll get into that in a little bit. But that it's a great deal. 1 year, prove it. If he's not good, then you don't have to worry about re-signing him. That's basically how I look at it. All right, Dane Jackson. They ended up signing him to a 1-year deal. I personally, I think he's going to be the number 3 corner. I don't see anybody else really. I see it's going to be Tre'Davious White. He's going to be the number 1 corner. I mean, if anybody thought he wasn't going to be the number 1 corner, I would be shocked. Like he was your all pro corner, and obviously he tore his ACL, so obviously he's not going to be he wasn't 100% this year. So we'll see. And I don't have the chat up on Facebook on my on StreamYard, but I do see it up on my Facebook Live. If you got a question, maybe something that you want to know about the Bills, what you think of this free agent signing, put it in the chat. I'll make sure that I can answer it. But I think that Dane Jackson, he had a really solid year being the basically the number 2 corner, and that's basically what happened. He was working behind Tre'Davious White, Kyer Elam, who was a number 1 pick, and Christian Benford, who I could definitely see as being a eventual, possibly a safety in the back end. There have been talks about, excuse me, that he could go into being a safety, and I wouldn't doubt that. And obviously, you've got Kyer Elam. I think that he is going to be really the best player, the second best corner that you got, and he's at a cost controlled contract. He's going to be your number 2 corner, and he'll. I'm sure it'll either be him or Benford, but I have a feeling that it'll be Elam being the number 2 corner, because I think that they'll want to start moving Christian Benford into a role as safety, because that's what they look for. That's what Brandon Bean looks for, is someone who can be versatile and be able to basically and that's also like what he looks for in the offensive line. He tries to look for that in, can you play multiple positions? And Christian Benford can play multiple positions. He can play corner, as we talked about, and he beat out Kyer Elam for the number 2 job, and also he could be a safety. So maybe if Micah Hyde doesn't resign, we could see that happening. I think that that's a good possibility. All right, now we get to Kyle Allen. All right, I mean, we don't really know the terms of the contract. At least I have not looked at it yet, the terms of Kyle Allen's contract. But I do believe, obviously, he's not going to be the starter. I would be absolutely. I mean, I think he could be a number 2, possibly, because he works with Josh Allen and over there in the offseason. So I wouldn't be surprised if Kyle Allen does become the number 2 quarterback. And I'm also wondering, are the Bills going to end up making Josh have his initials, have a J Allen, and then that becomes a huge merchandise type deal? Like, are we going to end up, are people going to end up wanting to buy the like Josh Allen jerseys that have the J Allen? Me personally, I've got way too many jerseys. I don't need another. I don't need another Josh Allen jersey, but that's just my opinion. All right, David Questenberry. He, in my opinion, is just going to be a depth right tackle. He was okay. You know, he had to come in a few games for when Spencer Brown was injured, and I don't know if Spencer Brown is even going to be on the Bills roster. I mean, excuse me, he's going to be in the starting lineup next season. He's he's very raw. So I think that they're still trying to develop him a little bit. That's what I look at it in that sense. And Questenberry, I wouldn't be surprised if the Bills decide to look at it from a standpoint of, we're going to go and get a right tackle and be competition for Spencer Brown. I think that that's what really Brandon Beane is really huge on, is competition. And I think that that's huge. All right. Now can we finally put the running back issue to bed? Like, please stop it. It is getting annoying. Oh, we should get Bijan Robinson. No. Why in the world would we get Bijan Robinson? I think that he's a great talent. First off, I think that he's going to be gone before the Bills even pick. And secondly, you're now going to take James Cook, who a lot of people thought was one of the sneakiest good picks in the draft, and now you're going to replace him with another running back. Why? Why? That just doesn't make sense. People who are on the running back train need to get off it and join the wide receiver train with Jeremy White and so many else, because wide receiver is what this offense is built on. It's built on passing the ball. And that's what Josh Allen does. He throws the ball. And that's where I'm getting into Damian Harris, the former Patriot. And a lot of people remember him for running all over the Bills in the Hurricane game back in 2021. And everybody in New England and the Boston media was saying that the Bills were basically done, that their Super Bowl window closed like that. And literally the Bills came in and kicked their ass in the next two games that they played. And you even see it now. Like this past season, I mean, it wasn't the first game, they just blew the brakes off of New England, and it was great. The second game was kind of, you didn't have those two kick returns. I'd be a little nervous, but I think Damian Harris is going to be what the Bills are looking for. I remember Brandon Beane saying that he wants a power running back, like someone kind of bigger. And that's what Damian Harris is. He's over 200 pounds. And that's what Brandon Beane was looking for, that over 200-pound running back. And you found it in Damian Harris. Now, do I expect him to take over the backfield? No. Do I expect him to be maybe the second or third? Probably. That's probably where I would expect him to be, is at the number 2 or the number 3 spot, because obviously the backfield is going to be for James Cook, and there's just no way around it. Again, if anybody is watching on Facebook Live, hello, how are you doing? If you got a question for me, leave it in the chat. Follow me on Twitter at EvanDipo2. You can see it. You can see it right down here. But yeah, I think that the running back train has officially stopped, and we can stop talking about it, and we can focus on other things like linebacker, Wide receiver, obviously, offensive line. That's all we need to focus on. The Bills did make some moves on wide receiver, and that doesn't mean that they should not keep going for a wide receiver. They went out and they signed Deontay Hardy to a 2-year deal. Now, was it a little pricey? Maybe, but I like it. I like the idea of a speedy wide receiver who has potential. It's basically what you're looking at is potential for the wide receiver. He's young. He just came off of an injury. I think that that's what you should be looking for in a, he's going to be a big, maybe number two, not number two, excuse me, maybe a number 3 wide receiver. So that's where I see it with Deontay Hardy. He's going to be speed and he's going to be fighting for that slot job, and I feel like that we kind of started to see it coming where, okay, now you got a wide receiver that is short and can take away some of the like the can take away a defense, and that's what we're seeing. That's what we saw now, and it ended up leading to the release of Isaac. Now he's with Indianapolis, and I presume he's going to be a starter over there. He great player. Loved Isaiah McKenzie, but it just ended up not working out. I think that's really what we could say is that it just didn't work out. We thought that he was going to get a lot of carries or a lot of carries with like jet sweeps, or he was going to be Cole Beasley's replacement. And I thought that was going to happen, but it apparently didn't. And that's the unfortunate part for Isaiah McKenzie. I think that he is solid. He's a good wide receiver. And you know what? It just didn't work out, I guess. That's really all you could put it as, is that it didn't work out. And that's where you end up now with you got another wide receiver now. Trent Sherfield recorded a career high in yards behind Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Now it was like around a little over 400 yards, but that's still a lot for a number 3 receiver. And he's pretty big. He's 6'1". He's got that breakaway speed. I like it a lot. And I think that that's what maybe he could take over the position at the slot receiver. We don't know. I think that's going to be the big question that's going to be asked is, will he take over the job as the slot receiver for the Bills when it comes down to it? And we're still not done with wide receiver. You're like, oh, we got 2 wide receivers. No, we're not done. There's no way in hell that the Bills should be satisfied with the 2 wide receivers that they just signed, because you need to get a young wide receiver, whether that's in the first round or in the second round, and that's what needs to happen. It just needs to happen. You need wide receivers for Josh Allen, and Stephon Diggs is getting a little bit older. I don't know if we're going to keep Gabe Davis. He's going to be heading to the last year of his contract. So I look at it from a standpoint of maybe this could happen where the wide receiver class is not as deep as past years. Jackson Smith and Jibba, apologize if I botched his name, but he is expected to be the number 1 receiver off the board. That's who I would want if I were the Bills. That's who I'd want. But you'd have to move up, like they're at 27. You'd have to move up 17 spots to get him. And I just don't think that the Bills can do that. I mean, if they want to take a route to try and get close, what they can do is what they did with when they got moved up to get Josh Allen. trade a player to a team that's kind of like in this case with Cordy Glenn a when he was a trade candidate with the Bills, and then they traded him with Cincinnati, moved down to 12, and then eventually got to 7, which then they ended up taking Josh Allen. And so that's where I could possibly see it, but I wouldn't count on it. I wouldn't count on the Bills moving up because I know that Brandon Bean likes having the draft capital and all that fun stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they moved up. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. So they're sitting up. That's the thing that sucks about being a good team is that when you need those wide receiver type like players and they're not as loaded in this draft compared to other drafts, then maybe look in the second round. Maybe look for a second round pick. All right. Back to now we're going to a little bit towards the defense. And Jordan Poyer is back with the Bills, signed a 2-year deal. Personally, I am shocked. I'm shocked that he decided to come back with the Bills. Am I happy? Hell yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy to see that he is back with the Bills because a lot of people were kind of nervous after the Cincinnati playoff loss. They were like, is this Jordan Poyer's last season as a Buffalo Bill? And, he was so good. And there were talks about Miami. I personally, as a fan, I would have lost my mind if he went to Miami. That would have been like when Thurman Thomas went to Miami after he was released by the Bills. Like, let's be honest. When Thurman Thomas signed with Miami, it kind of it only was one season, but you can't go to a division rival. It's something that should not happen it just shouldn't happen. Honestly, you think about it from a standpoint of think about Stephon Gilmore. He was a good player with the Bills, and then eventually he left in free agency and went and signed with the New England Patriots. And how do people look at him now? A lot of people don't like him. I mean, I'm kind of okay with him now because the Patriots are absolutely hot garbage now, which is awesome because they were been incredible for 20 years, and I literally hated everything about Boston. I still do hate everything about Boston, including the Boston Bruins, which we'll get into in a little bit. But I'm so happy to have him back. He's now got another season with Micah Hyde. He mentioned that he wants to finish his career here. So I would not be surprised if this is his last stop. And I think also the reason why he stayed with the Bills was because his age, there was some injury concerns about him. He was in and out of the lineup. I mean, the Bills won every game except the playoff game with him in the starting lineup. So now I'm happy that Jordan Poyer's back, and I want to get Micah Hyde signed back because I love Micah Hyde too. I love both of them. I think that they're peanut butter and jelly, and the safety tandem. It was okay with DeMar Hamlin, and we'll see what happens with him, and if he wants to play with the Bills again or play football. But Jordan Poyer being back, I think it also had to do with his age and him being 31. Not a lot of people want to give out the big bucks to someone who is starting to hit the back nine of their career. And, I think that the Bills, they were still an option. And, we were like, we lost Tremaine Edmonds. And now we were like, are we going to lose Jordan Poyer too? And thankfully we didn't. And this is now getting into my discussion on linebacker, Matt Milano being back. He wasn't being back. He was just extended to a 2-year deal. He's so good. I felt like ever since he was a rookie, I've always felt like he was super good, super underrated. And this year he really people finally woke up and saw, oh, this is actually a really good linebacker, and he is good. And I think that that's really what we can look at it from that standpoint is he is going to be your your next Daryl Talley, maybe. I mean, he's not a middle linebacker, but a Shane Conlon, like he's probably going to be up on the Wall of Fame whenever he retires and whenever they do it. I think that he will be up on the wall with all those greats, with like Bruce Smith, Thurman Thomas, Jim Kelly, all those guys. I don't think he won't get his number retired. I don't think he's that good of a player to where that'll happen. I think the only two people that I can really see in this team that would get their numbers retired would be Josh Allen with number 17 and Stephon Diggs is 14. Hey, man, it's going to be awesome seeing Milano just trucking dudes and being so good. That this is what I'm excited about. I love Matt Milano. But now we got to get into, it was inevitable, honestly. When we think about it, we had a feeling that, I don't know if we're going to be able to keep Tremaine Edmonds. And turned out to be true. Tremaine Edmonds signed a 4-year, $72 million deal with the Chicago Bears. He is a good linebacker, a great even. I think that his best years are ahead of him. Now, I think that it would have been huge for the Bills to keep him, but the money that he got, the Bills could not afford. There was just no way that the Bills could have been able to afford that contract. And, it sucks, but it's a business, as they say. And that's basically what happened. He ended up being a really good player, and with the Bills was the center of that defense, was a 5-year starter, 5-year starter, and was just incredible. But the Bills couldn't pay him. They could not pay the money that he got. And I wish him nothing but the best. I don't have any hate for Tremaine Edmonds. I know some of my friends or family always said, I hate Tremaine Edmonds. He was terrible. No, he wasn't. If he wasn't, then the Bills would not have. If he was terrible, the Bills probably would have cut him, or they would not have given him the 5th-year option. Did they want to re-sign him? Hell yeah, they wanted to re-sign him, but they couldn't. So what are you going to do? I talked about Isaiah McKenzie earlier, back to, talking about the losses that we had. Sucks. But I figured it was going to happen. So what are you going to do? There's nothing you could have done. So what do it was a tough year for Isaiah McKenzie, but I would not be surprised if he's catching balls from like a CJ Stroud or some rookie that is going to be picked high, because the Colts, I believe, are picking 4th in the draft this year. All right. That's my Bills. Actually, no. Hold on a second. I completely forgot. I thought I wrote it down in my notes. Maybe I just I skipped over it. But let me tell you about Connor McGovern signing with the Bills on a 3-year deal. I like it. I like it a lot. I think that guard and right tackle are the problems for the Bills on the line. When I say problems, I mean where we can improve. And I think Connor McGovern, that was with the Dallas Cowboys, who historically always had a good offensive line. I like it. It was great pickup for the Bills, and I think that he's going to be a huge, 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 huge asset for the Bills on the offensive line, and I think he's going to be the starter. And now today they signed David Edwards to a 1-year deal. He was with the Rams, and he has been an incredible guard. And I feel like you don't know a lot about guards, but stuff I was looking up, last year he missed most of the season because he had some injuries, and I believe it was concussion. but that whole Rams team was just hurt. But this time he comes to a team where you don't have a quarterback who is basically a statue, and that's what Matt Matthew Stafford was a statue. And in 2021, when he was a starter, first off, he has Super Bowl experience because he was um, the starting left guard for the Rams when they beat the Bengals in the Super Bowl. So that's definitely helpful. But also in 2021, when probably his best season, he gave up only 6 sacks. Six. It's not a lot. It was ranked in the top 10 among all offensive linemen for best, like least sacks given up, basically. That's what that means. And now you're going to be next to Deion Dawkins, and you had Andrew Whitworth next to you. It's going to be I think now, well, actually no, I think he might actually be right guard. I don't know. We'll see. Well, I mean, again, competition. And also he can play both left and right guard. That's what Brandon Bean looks for. Versatility. And, you know, I think that he might beat out Ryan Bates. Ryan Bates probably before today was the other guard, but I honestly think now that he's gonna get the spot, and I like it. I like it. I think that it's really what they need. David Edwards, I think that that's what the Bills need, and it's a 1-year deal. And I think that if you like him again, it's a prove it deal. That's what the Bills have been known to do: is do these 1-year prove it deals, see how it goes. If it goes well, then we'll re-sign you. Hopefully it doesn't turn out when we re-sign you that it's like you're not like what you were the year before. Okay, that's my take on the Bills. We still got some stuff to talk about. March Madness. It is bracket time. Let me tell you, folks, I did not make a bracket, and I had so much fun. I had fun just not having to worry about, oh my gosh, I got to make sure this team wins so my bracket, stays intact. Watching Purdue lose to a 16 seed, and remind you, this 16 seed, what was it? I'm sorry, I can't think of the team off the top of my head, but they weren't supposed to be in the tournament. They were not supposed to be in the tournament. They actually lost their conference championship game. The team that they lost to was not eligible because they did not have. They just transferred from a Division two school to a Division one school, and I think you need a certain amount of years before you can become a division. Be able to participate for like tournaments like March Madness or the NIT or whatever tournaments there are. But they beat them, and obviously they didn't go far. But Purdue, man, they have gone through a lot, and let me tell you, it is great because all you're doing is rooting for the upsets when you don't have a bracket. It's great. I absolutely love it. It's great. And Furman knocking off Virginia. I mean, if any of you have seen the clips, like the video of Kevin Harlan, literally just like when he goes back, he's like, "God," and he just like loses his mind, and he kind of like puts his arms out and he goes, "Did we see what we just saw?" Like that's college basketball. That is March Madness for you, and that's why the round of 64 and the round of 32 are always the best because that's where you expect the upset. Like, look at Princeton. They're in the Sweet 16. They're a 15 seed. Who expected them to knock off a 2 seed? Nobody, probably. Most people usually are like, obviously there's the 12 and the 5s. I mean, I think about, University of Buffalo when they won in their tournament and they knocked off Arizona, who was a 2 seed. I mean, excuse me, they were UB was a 13 seed, so Arizona was a 4 seed. If memory serves me right. So, and they beat the brakes off of them, and that was awesome to see. That's just awesome. That's the beauty of March Madness. Now, Sweet 16 is starting back up. Super excited about it, and you know what? You're still going to be paying attention to March Madness. I think we still are, and I have not had more fun watching good teams lose to the teams that are like 20-point underdogs. It's great. It's the absolute best to see teams that are just honestly, you're like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Like, this is awesome when you see brackets getting busted and you see it go from, all right, at this time there were da 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 perfect brackets. And then after this game, there were da 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 perfect brackets. And then once Purdue lost, zero perfect brackets. Because everybody probably picked Purdue to win. Like it's only happened at one time at that time. Now it's at two times where a 16 seed has beaten a one. Like, just think about it. Think about it. It's so incredible. I love March Madness. I think that it's the best tournament by far, and I'll even put that up against the World Cup. The World Cup tournament. Yeah, it's like I don't get me wrong. That's a close second. But March Madness, everybody's watching, and it's so much fun. So that's what my take is on March Madness. Love March Madness. I can't wait I'm gonna watch some games tonight because the Sabres are not playing tonight. And that's what I want to get into. They have been slipping, if you couldn't tell. Gave up 10 goals to the Dallas Stars, gave up 7 to both Nashville and Boston. It was embarrassing. Embarrassing. Like, Boston, I get it. They're probably going to be the best team maybe ever. Like, they're putting up points and wins that's just outrageous. So it just sucks when you lose 7-0 and the whole, like, basically what it looked like was half of the crowd was Bruins fans, and I had to turn the game off. I was getting so angry. Like, I could not watch it because I was like, these are Bruins fans. Like, why'd you make a 7-hour trip from Boston to Buffalo to watch this team, to watch the Bruins? Like, I don't understand it. I mean, maybe it's because the tickets are cheap. I get it. But for me as a Sabres fans, I'm like, let's have these games, honestly. And maybe it's because when the games come out, fans are immediately kind of like what Toronto Maple Leaf fans. When that game comes out, they buy them because it's a 2-hour drive and you can get lower bowl seats for like just say $100. And what can you get $100 at in a Toronto game? You're getting 300 level seats. So why pay the same price for a worse seat? Then it just doesn't make sense. So that's basically it just was awful. And then they gave up 7 again. That time I was more just like, yeah, awesome. Yeah, love it. I was being sarcastic. I was being a jackass. I could not stand it. It was I had the game on, but I didn't really like the Sabres scored to kind of cut the lead to 2, and then Nashville comes right down a few seconds later on a breakaway and scores. Now, the goaltending, yes, it's a problem. And we got Devin Levi now signed to a contract, still waiting on his immigration and being able to play. I don't know how much he's going to play, but let me tell you, I think that he is going to be the next Ryan Miller, or hell, even Dominic Hasek. Is that fair to say? Possibly the next Hasek? I don't know, but we'll see. Ukko-Pekka he's great. I think he's still raw, needs some work, and I think that this season was like kind of like a learning experience for him. I mean, he was the rookie of the month in January because he kind of gave up goals, but he was getting wins too, and he was making the saves when they counted. So, but the defense is not good, and this gets to my next point. If people are going to criticize Rasmus Dahlin, you guys need to learn hockey. Rasmus Dahlin is probably the best defenseman in the world. Is he playing hurt? He doesn't say it, but he might be. He is not playing great. And for people to come on like Twitter or social media or whatever and say he's the defensive liability, we should trade him before we have to pay him. Absolutely not. I'm trying to make sure I don't curse on my show because really, I'm trying to make sure I'm not using really bad words on this show because literally, are you kidding me? Why in the world? Yeah, let's just trade our best player. It would be stupid. It would be absolutely dumb. Why would you ever do that? Like, can you imagine? Oh, we were so close to the playoffs. Yeah, let's get rid of our best player because he's defensive liability. No! He puts points up. And that's what we're seeing. He is, he's kind of not been as good this year, in the home stretch. Literally, why in the world would we trade our best player? Now you can say, "Oh, we traded Jack Eichel." Well, Jack Eichel, yeah, he was good, but also at the same time, I think that they were going through a change of just they wanted to get a new face in here, and he was hurt, and he didn't want to be in Buffalo. Rasmus Dahlin wants to be in Buffalo. He's written letters to the fans saying, "We're coming. Be ready. Like, be patient with us." Stuff like that. He talked about how much it meant to see fans in the back in the arena, and it felt like it was a home ice advantage. And that's what we've been missing is the fans with their butts in the seats cheering on the Sabres. Yeah, in the last couple weeks, has it been tough to, cheer them on while they're getting blown out 7-0? Yeah. But you're going to tell me that you need to get rid of the best defenseman in the world. Are you kidding me? And what are you going to get? First round pick? First round picks are not what they are in like the NFL, or I can't even compare it to the NBA because I feel like the NBA is very top heavy. Like the best players are at the top of the draft. It's the same with the NHL. The best players are at the top of the draft, and you're going to tell me that they should trade the best defenseman in the world for picks, prospects? No, absolutely not. And here comes to my other rant that I have. If anybody says that the Sabres should get rid of Don Granato because of the collapse that the Sabres had and they're slipping from the playoff picture, need to literally stop trying to think, oh, you know what, we should have kept Lindy Ruff or something like that. Lindy Ruff has been doing good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like going to say, oh, I wish we had Lindy. Maybe I do wish we had Lindy because he's good. And the New Jersey Devils are the third best team in hockey. In fact, they're going to be playing in Buffalo tomorrow. But it's ridiculous to think that, oh, yeah, we're going to basically we're going to fire the coach after 2 years again. This isn't Ralph Kruger, who is a soccer coach, who didn't know anything, who put Jeff Skinner on the fourth line. Jeff Skinner now has 30 goals. 30! Now, is he overpaid? Probably, but he is incredible. He has been playing so well, and he's gotten these young guys. Again, this is the youngest team in the NHL. I did not think that they were going to get this far. I was like hopeful, hopefully we can, Be happy to see them competitive and scoring goals. And we have seen them competitive and scoring goals. Like all the time. Like look at the goat head jerseys. They've won like most of the games that they've won, they have scored like 5, 6, or 7 goals. It's awesome. That's what people came to see was scoring goals. That's what I want. And you know what? If they fire Don Granato, that's gonna literally blow up in the locker room. So it's just these players love Don Granato, and I've heard from people that free agents want to be with the Sabres and Don Granato. We're starting to get back into the feeling of people want to be back here. People want to come play for the Sabres. So that's what I really look at it as. You cannot consider getting rid of Don Granato. You just can't. I feel a lot better now that I got that off my chest. So thank you for everybody who has listened. Be posting this on um I'll be posting Dipo's Den up later. And thank you all for watching and for listening. Stay tuned. Keep it. You'll probably see that might be having Katie Villarini from played basketball in Portugal, and played basketball for Buff State and was absolutely incredible. This has been Dipo's Den. See you guys next time and stay safe. Have a good one.